My dad cheated and thinks he can tell my mom that he wants to divorce her, so this is a really weird story, but let me tell it from the beginning. My dad and mom have been married 17 years now and have me, my little sister, and little brother. My dad around 2 years ago started being just super weird and distant and rude and angry and mean to the whole family, and it was around the time when I started going through a really tough time mentally. I'm 16 and it started the beginning of my sophomore year, and it was just awful. It got bad enough to a point where I was cutting myself and couldn't even get out of bed to go to school. My dad would beat me for this, and my mom would sometimes beat me too. My dad was always worse though. He'd pick me up by my hair and throw me off my bed and stuff. It was just the worst year of my life. So about 3 months ago this lady texted my mom and told her that my dad was married to her and that she had a kid and was expecting another kid, and my mom went absolutely ballistic on my dad. My dad denied it at first and wouldn't give my mom the phone for hours as they screamed and broke everything upstairs. Me and my siblings were all in my sister's bed just listening to it. It got bad enough the next day with their fighting that they both hit each other, and my mom called the police on my dad. The police just talked to both of them and sort of told my mom to get a restraining order and that they couldn't do anything, and my dad just left the house to go to work at the restaurants. Oh yeah, this is important. So my parents own 2 businesses, restaurants, that they work at. Technically my dad's an engineer, but he says he doesn't want to work for anybody. So the police left and we were just sort of taking it all in. We had 2 half siblings and my dad had been cheating with a whole other wife for 2 years. The thing is, my mom can't divorce him for another 3 years minimum because their visa or green card is connected, and if they get divorced then the green card will expire and we'll all be sent back to Saudi and my mom, and we don't want that because we've lived here our whole lives. My dad said nasty things to my mom and still says them, but my mom has made a plan to trick him into thinking she forgave him and that she wants to work out the marriage because he put everything under his name, the house, both the businesses, which by the way were my mom's. She worked in them day and night and put all the effort into them. He bought the other wife a Range Rover and took her to Florida, and I forgot to add this too, but this lady was an employee at the restaurant my parents hired because she was homeless and lived in a shelter and apparently had 3 abusive husbands, so my mom hired her to help her have a fresh start. This lady is also insane. She abused her last husbands and she would scream at my dad, and she held a knife up to his throat once too, but he still didn't ever leave her. He did leave her when my mom found out. BC apparently he made a fucking deal with her that if she ever told my mom he would divorce her. And also he gave me the other wife's broken up Kia Soul when he bought her the Range, and I was super happy because I thought he really got me a car and stuff, but it was really just the other wife's old car. When he divorced her he took the car back from her and gave it to me, but when he got home with the car and saw my mom crying he screamed at my mom and said this is my wife and I had to spoil her. Oh, and he also bought the other wife an apartment and gave her over $600,000 while me and my mom and siblings have been saving money for 2 years and not spending it on anything other than necessities. BC my mom told us my dad was going through a struggling time and we didn't have that much money, but he was really just giving it to the other fucking wife. For the past 3 months has been mentally abusing my mom and calling her crazy and telling her to stop talking about it. He gives her these strikes before he says he's going to divorce her, and just the other day he was screaming at my mom for crying and saying if she doesn't leave the room, which is literally her room, he would divorce her right then. He tells my mom that she was useless and he could never talk to her and she was only sometimes good for him to have sex with, and he just says these horrible, terrible, disgusting things to her. Let me tell you about my mom now. My mom pretty much raised us our whole lives. Oh yeah, my dad also said she did a terrible job with us even though he was never home, but anyways my mom put us in every sport and activity and drove us there and back and still came home, and she worked at the restaurant and came home to make dinner for us every night. She's the most loving, sweet, caring and kind person you could ever think of. I feel like I've been sort of carrying the whole house for the last couple of weeks, and I already had anxiety before, but it's just so bad now. It's gotten to the point where I can't eat any food down, but I really want to be there for my mom and just my siblings and everyone, and what to do. It's so hard living and pretending to love and like my dad because we can't show him that we don't, or he'll really divorce my mom and break the family and all of our lives pretty much. At the beginning he would tell my mom to go back to Saudi to her parents because he was such a bad person and trying to guilt trip her and stuff, but me and my mom think he just wanted her out of the house so he could bring his other wife to our house and for her to live here. Oh, I also forgot to mention, like a week after my mom found out, he said he was going to kill himself, and we had to call the police, and we were like speeding driving around the city to find him, and we literally thought he died, but he was just faking it. It just breaks my heart seeing my mom have to live through this, and I really don't know what to do. He took $5,000 of my parents' house cash stash, and we think he bought her some used car and has been going to her house in the middle of working. Me and my mom know because he put a tracker in his car. He also used $100K of my mom's money to buy the other wife the Range Rover. I honestly just can't believe that his disgusting lady literally came from a shelter, and my dad did this. So yeah.